We'll just introduce Bruce Dooley. I did start an introduction there with Bruce. Bruce flew over from Takaka this morning, and look, I think he'll be able to explain it all himself anyway.
You guys are lucky to have this man, I'll tell you. Winston's amazing. Thank you. 25 years ago, I was just telling him, I met him in the Kuru Lounge in Auckland. My solicitor was his campaign manager, and he walked into the lounge, and I said, I'm just in from the States, and I thought, gosh, that guy he's got a hell of a smile, and walked up to him and shook his hand. I said, let's take off our shirts and compare our wounds that we've taken, me in medicine and you in law, in the legal field. So. I'm a medical doctor of 40 years. I am very honored to be here tonight representing medical doctors, I suppose. Many of us who have been under attack by our medical council and by what I'm going to describe today, which is an organization, a global organization based out of Texas, formed in 1912. Basically is controlling all of the medical councils and medical boards in the world. And as such, because the medical boards control our livelihood, we've worked all of our lives to get where we are as doctors, but it's all dependent on that registration certificate on the wall, and that's controlled by, in this particular country, in this country, called the Medical Council. So, I don't know where exactly, so I do want to say that there's quite a group, the New Zealand Doctors SOS, who is a great organization, and I'm a member of it, that are trying to speak out with science to say, what are we doing? Well, in this particular last 3 years of the pandemic, but more or less, what are we doing in medicine? Because I think several people tonight, and Gary certainly talked about it, is that we have an inherent ability to heal ourselves. And that knowledge, that Hippocratic understanding of food and exercise and even right thinking has been completely wiped out of medical training. How many hours do you think doctors get in nutrition in the 4 years or 5 or 6 years of medical school? 1 hour. 1 hour. And let medicine be thy food. Now, this bill, if it goes through, has a little caveat in there. But don't worry, your doctor can prescribe the vitamins and the supplements to you. Now, let me ask you something. If they get 1 hour of nutrition, which is usually the basically inverted food pyramid, which is now turned upside down several times, what do you think they know about coenzyme Q10 and curcumin and turmeric and all of the things that have oodles of science? I had to go and retrain myself, basically, and all of us that are in the integrative medicine field had to retrain ourselves with this whole idea that maybe we don't have to be drug pushers. Because, of course, I had to take a year of pharmaceuticals, like all doctors. So we have 1 hour of nutrition, we have a year of pharmaceuticals. That seems to be out of balance. Does anybody agree? And in the mid-90s, I was on the board of directors of an organization. We had 1,200 physicians, and we were growing at 200 a year. We were a real threat to Big Pharma. I didn't know it at the time. But on the board meeting, somebody, one of the directors said, do you know, we have this federation that's, declined us participating in a study of complementary alternative medicine. And I didn't think anything about it. And when I got attacked by my medical board in Florida, and I heard them on the way out say, oh, I'm going to meet you at the federation meeting. And I ended up going undercover and finding out about this agency that 99.9% of doctors don't know about, and almost 100% of the public doesn't know about. So I will quickly go through this. I love this. This is Jimmy Dore, who basically in April was talking about when he finally woke up to what was going on. he says basically everything's a lie. Everything's been lying. They've been lying about everything. They've been lying about masks and safety, et cetera, et cetera. And, I had to go back. So in my estimation, we've just gone through one of the greatest crimes in history, and there's been 4 obstacles that were in front of these lies: mainstream media, government, science and medicine, and the internet. Well, mainstream media is controlled. Governments seem to be controlled. We're looking at some of it today, which is captured. Science and medicine have been controlled. And I'm going to show you why that is. Controlling the narrative, there's only major research journals now. We're knowing that the 5 major research journals basically are not allowing information out. They're not letting the facts out to be reviewed, and majority of the international medical regulatory agencies are involved. The internet, they're working on it, aren't they? So the internet's the last thing that's keeping us alive right now, I think. Really, the information that's getting out is only coming out through the internet, and we really, that's gone, we're done for. So this is their symbol from 1912, and this is their president, Hank, and I have a possible phone call back in February 2020. Hi, Hank, and this is in Texas, by the way. Hi, Hank. Just to let you know, you're going to get very busy, so we've upped your salary to $1 million, and you'll need to get more lawyers and staff. This is their building, two double-story buildings stuck back in a suburb way over there. See, they nicely hid themselves 15, 20 years ago. Nobody knew they were there. They're very secretive. But they have 300 staff, and they have an enormous power. This is a street view. They spend, we have their tax records, they spend $1 million a week. Am I in the way? I'll just get down. There's no point for you to see me. So they spend $1 million a week, yet the annual dues for the U.S. member boards are only $10,000. They're registered as a nonprofit. They don't need to reveal where their income sources are, right? Well, this is their $1 million man, Dr. Chandri. I just want to say that, you can't see it on the slide here, but he must be a doppelganger, because when you look at his profile, it's they. They served as, they were a flight surgeon, they were a director of medicine. What is going on here? There must be 2 of them, or are we a little woke here, you know? So, in the history, of which I read the rest of it on the plane coming over from Golden Bay today, in the history of the New Zealand Medical Council, without any mention of the, except for this one sentence in the entire book, in 1993, which is April was our 30th year anniversary, several council members of the New Zealand Council and executives attended an annual meeting of the Federation of State Medical Boards in San Francisco. And that's where they started this organization, International Association of Medical Regulatory Authorities. So we have the chair. We have Joan Simeon, who is our current Chief Executive Officer of the Medical Council of New Zealand. She's in line to be the chair-elect. The past chair is from South Africa, and look who their secretary is. Oh my God, it's him again, Chandri. He's the secretary. So these are the conferences that they held, and it's basically South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, England, Canada. Seem familiar? Five Eyes. Okay, British Commonwealth. Just as an actual outtake from the medical, from their one of 2017 IRS, and in today's numbers, our chair, our woman who's in charge, she's not even a doctor, the Medical Council, Joan Simeon, this is what she'll be collecting in addition to her salary from the Medical Council. That's an estimate, $722,000 over the terms of chair-elect, chair, and past chair. So there's, I don't think that has any kind of influence. So in July of 2021, since I outed them, I went undercover to two of their annual meetings, one in 1998, one in 1999. Then I reported them to the White House Commission, President Clinton's Commission on Complementary Alternative Medicine, and I basically said, who are these people and what are they doing? And, but I've been watching them, and they've been watching me. And in July 2021, they came out publicly for the first time with this statement about misinformation, disinformation coming from physicians. And it basically said physicians have undue power and trust by the public, so therefore, if they say something against the narrative, basically, then they're at risk for losing their license and their livelihood and the house and everything else. No pressure there, huh? So then, in December 2021, because they put this information out, they went back and said, quote, we're going to do a study from the medical boards. Only 15 actually came back and said that there was a 67% increase in complaints related to the dissemination of false or misleading information. And then, of course, Chandri comes up and he calls that a staggering number. And he says, basically, we're going to have to do something about that. And at the next meeting in April 2022, at the House of Delegates Convention at the annual meeting, which I attended the ones back in 1999, and they have voting booths for one delegate from each medical council, and this is presented to them in a private organization. The federation's private, and basically they voted on a 12-page law that was adopted, and to all the medical councils, medical boards in the United States, basically saying that misinformation, disinformation disseminated is harmful and dangerous. So the problem, just, you know, basically, I'm not going to bore you with all this, but they quoted, they paid a lawyer to look at this before they actually passed it. And essentially, if you read the Coleman said, you can't do this. You can't shut doctors up. It's freedom of speech. But they went ahead and nobody read this except me, I guess, and they went ahead and voted it in. So, and then, you know, I'm just going to go, basically, the thing that flipped them out back in the mid-90s was this guy, David Eisenberg from Harvard. And David Eisenberg was looking at, in 1990, that there were 425 million visits and $13.7 billion being spent, and then that in 1997 actually increased significantly to 27 billion, and it equaled the number of visits to all physicians, GPs in the United States, the number of people that were using complementary services like vitamins and things that we're talking about here. And it freaked out Big Pharma, to the extent that that's about the time, if you start looking at it with the Codex Alimentarius, which is basically the seed of this Therapeutic Goods Act, started them on the mission to wipe out, stamp out vitamins, supplements, and anything that would keep people healthy. Because of course, a healthy person does not bring any money. There's no profit in healthy people, is there? At all. If you stay healthy, you never go into the system. Well, that's not good. So it's a disease care system. And I think that's it. So I thank you very much. And if I have any questions, yeah.